We're joined by Dr. Benjamin Ho, Assistant Professor of China Program at the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies. Good morning, Professor. I mean, this year's forum is a considerable step up in the scale, agenda, and representation from previous editions. What does that tell you about China's objectives and its clout on the global stage?
Well, I think the Xiangshan Forum over the years has been a platform for China to not only put forth its voice about regional and global affairs, but more importantly, to set the agenda as to what is important and ought to be discussed. So if you look at the topics discussed at this year's forum, there are topics like the Global Security Initiative, Asia-Pacific Security, Global South, international rules, all on the agenda, which reflects what China considers as important issues for debate and discussion.
Dr. Ho, the U.S. sending the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, Michael Chase, apparently to signal Washington's desire to have the guardrails in place and to re-establish, the hotlines for use in times of crises. Now, will Beijing be receptive given that it previously cut all military contact when tensions rose over Taiwan when Nancy Pelosi went there?
Well, we had the U.S. National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, in Beijing just last week, meeting with Wang Yi, and also talks between U.S. Indo-PACOM Command and Chinese Southern Theater Commander. So I think there is some kind of expectation that relations are cordial enough for the moment and that conversations are ongoing. That said, I think no one is in any illusion that the relationship between both countries will not improve simply by just one or two conversations. So what has been said, so both sides know what is at stake vis-a-vis the other.
The South China Sea issue has always also been the biggest hot flashpoint in recent months. Doctor, how might they be addressed at the forum? Could we see any progress on conflict prevention or actionable solutions?
Well, China has insisted that the Taiwan issue is an internal matter and will go at lengths to repeat that no external interference is permitted. I doubt any country would want to push back on this issue in an explicit way, including the United States. As for the South China Sea, my own sensing is that Beijing is open to negotiation and to find common ground with other countries from a bilateral basis. However, they would not want the US or any other external party not from the region to get involved. So that will make it challenging for any significant breakthroughs to take place.
Dr. Ho, Beijing is said to be pitching the forum, the Xiangshan Forum, as an alternative to the Shangri-La Dialogue because it sees that as too Western bias against China. Now, could this idea gain traction among, I suppose, more neutral and pragmatic countries which are trying to balance, all that rivalry between the US and China?
Well, I think we all know that the Chinese are not very comfortable with an open style of questioning that is seen in the SLD. But that said, they have been participating in the SLD for a number of years now and would have learned how things work elsewhere. So as such, my own sensing is that some of the best practices from the SLD would have found its way into the thinking of the Xiangshan planners. So I wouldn't call the Xiangshan as a radical departure from any other military forum, except that the Chinese would now have greater say on the agenda and participation. And again, other countries, more neutral countries, would view the Xiangshan Forum as a platform where they are able to touch base with other military counterparts.
Okay, I get your point, but I'm just going to push a little bit more about this. What about, more US-aligned Asian countries who are a bit worried about China? I mean, can they be persuaded, that Beijing and the Xiangshan Forum is where global security concerns can be tackled? I mean, we had those comments from the Lieutenant General overnight. And the example, which is probably a bad one, and I'll probably get criticized for it, is almost like Russia inviting Ukraine, Poland, and Estonia and say, come, we'll talk about your security concerns.
Well, the way I see it, there is no reason why China should view a US-aligned Asian country or any other country in a negative light. I don't think there is any country which seeks an absolute alliance with US, nor any country which refuses to have any form of relations with China. So in other words, countries are primarily motivated by their own national interests, and they will align with whichever country whose interests best align with theirs. So to the extent that Xiangshan Forum is a platform where countries can come together, talk about their own national interests, I don't see why this should be controversial to China.
Beyond our backyard, China has been playing a role as a mediator in recent conflicts, such as the Russia-Ukraine war, also Israel-Hamas conflict. How might that impact its diplomatic positioning at the Xiangshan Forum?
Well, yes, you are right. We have seen China making some statements about the Russia-Ukraine war and the Israel-Hamas conflict, but these statements are mostly cast in very general terms, and there isn't a lot in terms of practical action, at least to me, to suggest that China will decisively mediate in these conflicts. In any case, I really doubt Beijing wants to muddy its hands too much in these matters insofar as they reflect unresolved historical grievances. I think China would prefer to focus on its own domestic development and leave these matters to other actors to sort them out.
All right, Professor, we know that China's defense minister will be giving a keynote speech in less than a couple of hours from now. What can we expect to hear from him?
Well, I think if you look at, again, the outline of this year's Xiangshan Forum, I would say some of these topics will be topics that the defense minister will touch on. I think the defense minister will probably go at lengths to try and flesh out this global security initiative, which is a very big signature slogan by President Xi. So those are things that I would look out for in his speech.
All right, Dr. Ho, we'll have to leave it there for now. Thank you very much for your expertise this morning. Dr. Benjamin Ho, Assistant Professor of China Program at the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies.